What's going on, everybody? It's your boy J Main, back checking in with the people, back with another review. And today we're talking about that Last of Us HBO episode 4. I want to say at this point, I think we are moving past the prologue portions of the series. I don't think we have had it in the past like 2 episodes, which I did enjoy because they kind of gave us more insight on what was happening prior to the pandemic spreading as well as during the pandemic taking place. This episode was short. I'm gonna cut straight to it. It was short, like 45 minutes tops, I want to say this episode was. And while I felt like it was a better pace than episode 3, I feel like they should have kind of swapped the lengths, of those 2 episodes. With this episode being so short, this review shouldn't be that long. We get right into it. Ellie is, you see, in the bathroom. She's got the gun. She has it out. She's playing with it. This is the gun that she stole from Bill's house. I believe it to be Frank's gun. And she's kind of like playing with it, acting like she's shooting, taking it apart, looking at the bullets and stuff. Kind of like fascinated by just having a gun. Not afraid of anything as far as, handling it or it going off or anything like that. Just showing no fear of holding his gun. So when she steps out of the bathroom, it reveals that her and Joel are at a gas station. So Joel is siphoning gas and Ellie is continuing to ask questions, of course, because these are things that are new to her. What I thought was a cool moment that happens next is Ellie pulls out a joke book. Now, if you are a fan of the Last of Us game, you know that throughout the entirety of the game, they have these many segments where you can start up a conversation. And usually Ellie, when she's talking to Joel, is reciting one of the jokes from her joke book. I believe there's like even a trophy attached to it. This portion of the episode, it was like really beat for beat from the game. She's talking about her jokes. They're in the car, continuing their journey, as well as her finding the gay porn magazine, which is in Bill's car, and she's like joking around about the pages being stuck together, and like Joel's like clearly annoyed and he's trying to like get her to stop looking at the magazine, but she makes like funny jokes about it. And I thought it was cool because, like I said, it's a portion from the game, and I feel like these moments Bella Ramsey actually does really good as Ellie when she's kind of going beat for beat from what they have in the game. Joel, he's getting tired, so they decide to take a break off the road, and they drive out into like the forest area. And I was a little bit confused by this because they have a car, right? They have a car, and instead of like sleeping in the car or even sleeping in the trunk area, they get out the car. Like, I understand they want to eat, so yeah, you gotta set stuff up to eat, but to fall asleep, they take the sleeping bags and they sleep outside in the nature, in the cold. I'm like, why not just sleep in the car? I'm sure it'll be much warmer, a little bit more protection from the elements, and just a little bit more low key if you like sleeping in the car with the lights off. They're outside sleeping on the ground, and Ellie's asking Joel like, those people that that might be out looking for us, or just looking to do bad things to other people, like, will they find us? And Joel's like, trying to comfort her, to let her know like, no, they're not gonna find us, we're safe. But Joel, like, I feel like that question stuck in Joel's head a lot because he ended up not even getting no sleep that night. Like, he was up with his gun, like kind of like surveying the field and checking the surrounding areas, making sure nobody was rolling up on him. So it showed that even though he was trying to console Ellie and make her feel safe, at the same time he was also worried about their safety. Another cool thing that showed a little bit more of the growth in their relationship is that Ellie went to go tell Joel a joke at this point, and he had already heard it. So he answered it, and like, she was laughing, calling him a dick because he kind of killed her moment of telling like a cool joke from the book. And you actually see Joel like crack a smile during this moment. So you see like he's opening up more to Ellie. And I think this episode period does a great job of showing them, opening up more to each other, joking around a little bit with each other. The next morning, they get back on the road, and, Joel's explaining to Ellie because she's asking about Tommy, and he's telling her, we'll take the road this, that way, and we'll get to Wyoming, and, we could talk to Tommy and figure out what the next move is going to be. And so Ellie's wondering like, who is your brother? Like, what is he about? So Joel's explaining like Tommy is what they called a joiner, and somebody who always wanted to be looked at or felt as a hero. And so he joined the army. Joel talks about that not going well, and Tommy not feeling like a hero in that moment. And so when the pandemic hit and the outbreak happened, Joel said that Tommy wanted him to go and join up with a group And that's when they met Tess out in Boston. And Joe said he was kind of like just there for his safety, like always watching after Tommy, because Tommy was always getting himself into something. As you know, he always wants to be a hero. And that kind of goes back to the beginning of the first episode when Tommy got locked up. It's because he got into a bar fight with a guy and a girl who was having a little problem, and Tommy hopped in, punched the guy in the face, and ended up getting locked up and thrown in jail. So, Joe's explaining that, and he said Tommy got introduced to Marlene, and he followed the Fireflies and their whole, save the world initiative. And Joe always felt that it was bullshit. Like, he never believed it. And that was probably how him and Joe ended up falling out. They continue on driving, and they come across a roadblock and, in the direction that they're going. So Joel decides, let's just try and find a way of going around it by going into the city. When they get into the city, they're lost. Ellie's trying to follow the map. This is her first time doing something like this. She can't, she's not giving good directions. And Joel's getting frustrated. And, they're driving and they come across a quarantine zone. But they're looking at it and it's like no Fedra soldiers there, no agents, nothing. It's just dry, nobody there. And then they look and there's a guy waving them down for help, and Joe's like, nah. Ellie's like, you're not gonna stop? He's like, nah, put your seatbelt on. And they drive through it, and as they're driving through it, a bunch of these other guys just hop out of nowhere and they start shooting at them, throwing stuff at the car ends up getting hit. They crash into a storefront and they hop out the car, because at this point it's guns blazing. These guys, which I'm assuming are the hunters at this point, are shooting at him. These hunters are shooting at Joel and Ellie as they hop out the car. And Joel is telling Ellie, yo, get to the corner over there. There's a hole. Go in there. You'll be safe. So she goes, she's crawling over there, and she's stunned. She's shocked. This is probably the first shootout she's ever been in. And she's stunned. Once she goes over there, Joel pops up and he starts shooting back. He's firing, returning fire. Claps one dude, kills him. Another guy is out there and he's trying to sneak up. So Joel gets better position, a little bit deeper into the store, and the guy's creeping up on him. And as he's getting close, he's actually getting really close to the hole that Ellie climbed through. And as he's getting close to it, he just gets clapped. You don't even get to see it. And at this point, I was kind of frustrated. I'm like, why not show us that? Why at this moment are they changing the camera to where we can't see the kills? They showed us the first one, and this was the first person Joe has killed since the Fedra soldier back when they were leaving out the quarantine zone. So that was the first person they showed him kill. Finally getting some action, and they really only show us him killing one person. So Joe kills the guy, and he begins to reload his gun because he thinks the coast is clear. Out comes this young man. I'm gonna call him a young man because I can't tell if he's a teenager or an adult. He's he's a young adult, a young man. He bursts through the back door and he's Joel hits him with his gun and causes the guy to his gun to flail, shoot up in the air. And now he's wrestling with Joel, getting the best of Joel. This dude is 120 pounds soaking wet and got Joel on the floor getting choked out by his gun. And I'm like, yo, what is this? He just beat a man to death with his bare hands not too long ago, and now he's getting tossed around by this young 120 pound soaking wet dude. Nah, he's old, but he's seasoned. He's a seasoned guy, and he's been through battles, and this shouldn't be a tough fight for him. Ellie, she ends up pulling out the gun that she stole, and she's behind him now. So she gets behind the guy, she's creeping up on him, and she shoots him in the back. Now this dude, after Ellie shoots him in the back, this part was hilarious. He starts going crazy. He's like, oh my God, I can't feel my legs. He's like, I can't feel my legs. He's like, listen, I'll tell the group that you guys are good people. We can make trades. We can work together. He's like, I just want my mom. Joel snatches the gun from Ellie and he tells Ellie yo, go in the other room because he's going to now finish the job. So you can hear the guy pleading for his life. And then it sounds like Joel stabs him, to finish him off. But again, we don't get to see it. I'm not feeling that. I'm not feeling that about this. And I also felt like this segment, as far as the ambush goes, could have been longer because we haven't gotten much of, the human on human combat. Joel showing us his skills with his gun and his, maneuvering ability, sneaking around, catching dudes off guard. We didn't get much of that. And I felt like they could have fleshed this scene out a little bit more, as well as showing us some of these kills. The scene switches, and now we are introduced to a lady named Kathleen, who is she's interrogating like an elderly guy. And what we end up learning is that this guy is actually a doctor. Somebody who's known this lady Kathleen for a long time, even delivered her when she was born. But she seems to be upset at this guy, and it all has to do with her looking for people. She's trying to find some people that she felt is responsible for what happened to her brother, which she explains that her brother was brutalized and beat to his death. And one of the names she mentions that of the people that she's looking for is Henry. And we all know Henry if you played the game, but Henry is somebody she's looking for that she feels had something to do with the death of her brother. There's like a loud commotion going on outside, and you see a couple bodies on the floor, and they look like they're dead. And you hear this man talking, and she's asking him, like, what happened? And he's saying that there were some infiltrators, and they got to them. They don't know really like what the full scoop is, but they just know that there's some people, some outsiders. And what you also notice is the voice of the guy that's talking to Kathleen is very familiar. And if you notice, it is the guy that plays Tommy in the Last of Us game. So the voice actor that plays Tommy in the Last of Us game is the voice of pretty much the henchman that is working with Kathleen. And so Kathleen is 100% like, yo, this is Henry. Like, we've been looking for him. I'm pretty sure he has something to do with it. Let's all spread out and look for him, because she sees these people that are dead. These are her people. And one of them is actually the guy that Joel killed, the young man that Joel killed, that Ellie helped out with. And then another man who's like kind of half dying. Like, he's not dead yet, but he's bleeding out. And she's asking, like, can the doctor help him? And they're like, nah, it's kind of like it's too late for him. Like, it's over for him. Like, he's not gonna make it. And out of nowhere, she kind of gets mad, goes back into where she was interrogating the doctor, and just straight up kills him. And I'm like, I'm confused about this, because I'm pretty sure you would want to keep a doctor around in this situation. Doctors probably are few and far between, and you kill him because maybe you're emotional about what happened to your brother and you felt like he had something to do with it. Maybe that is true. But you, as a leader, and she seems to be the leader of these people based on the way she was ordering them. As a leader, you have to have your head on straight and think about what's best for the group, not just your personal emotions. Scene switches back to Joel and Ellie. They're in a storefront and they're like, peeking out, making sure like the coast is clear, but they can see that the hunter group, Kathleen's hunter group, is out looking for Henry. They're surveying the fields, looking through everything, buildings, garages, anywhere they feel like people can be, they're looking through it. So they're Joel and Ellie are talking, and he's like, they're going to be here at any moment, so we can't stay here for too long. Joel kind of gets a little emotional in talking with Ellie, because he feels bad that Ellie had to actually shoot somebody. He felt like she's just a kid. Kids shouldn't have to be living life like this, because Joel comes from the world where kids got to be kids, and Ellie is kind of like, don't even worry about it. It ain't the first time like I did it, because she's growing up in this post-apocalyptic world where, you got to defend for yourself. You got to do these harsh things in order to survive. But, Joel is still kind of, a little bit torn about that. He begins to show her how to handle a gun. And this shows the growth in their relationship, that he's, trusting her more to handle a gun, especially after she saved his life from being killed by that young man. They eventually cut back to Kathleen's group. Now, at this point, Kathleen's group thinks they found out where Henry has been, stationed. They go up into like an attic, and there's a bunch of food. Looks like some sleeping bags, some drawings, and looks like Henry was there, but is no longer there. He left. And then she mentions that, they look like they were out of food, but Henry wouldn't let Sam starve. They're like, he got to be close. Keep looking. But at the same time, Kathleen and her henchman, I'm gonna call it her right-hand man, the dude that is Tommy's voice in the video game, he shows her this crater like in this like basement area, and it's like rumbling. It looks like something is trying to burst through. And I want to say this is probably going to be infected, because they talked about in previous episodes how the tendrils and stuff grow underground. That looked crazy. They was shook by that, but they didn't want to tell nobody because they wanted the priority to remain on finding Henry. Again, irrational decisions that I think Kathleen is making. I feel like that should be your priority, because if that happens at any moment, shit gonna go left real fast. We get back to Joel and Ellie, and they get out of the place that they were hiding up in, that storefront, and they head and break into this building. While they were in the storefront, they both noticed like a tall building about 4 blocks away, they said, that they can go and hide in. They finally get to the building and they're climbing up these stairs, and Ellie asks Joel, like, how did you know that was an ambush? And Joel mentions that he has been on both sides. So meaning Joel has actually been someone who probably either faked the injury to try and ambush someone and steal from them or kill them, or he's been on another side of an ambush where he has gotten ambushed, got his stuff stolen, or maybe he lost some people. And so Ellie asks him, like, have you killed innocent people? And he kind of just like ignores her and tells her to like keep climbing up the stairs, which basically is an answer in itself. Like, you know, if he didn't, he would have said no. They get upstairs to the floor that they can make it to. Joel's old and tired. I think they only made it to like the 33rd floor out of like 45. And so they find like this office to hide out in. Joel's like breaking up glass, putting it by the door just in case some people try to sneak up on them. Joel's talking about what happened again with the gun, her having to use it. And he asks Ellie, like, you know, the situation about her saying she's done it before, but she don't want to talk about it. And before they go to sleep, Ellie is telling Joel one final joke before they knock out. And I thought this joke was funny. My wife loved it. We were both cracking up. And she says that, did you know that diarrhea was hereditary because it runs in your genes or something like that? I thought it was hilarious. And Joel actually begins to, they both start laughing, like they both cracking up. Just showing again more of the relationship building. These, you know, these jokes that initially annoyed Joel, he's now finding funny and laughing about. They finally fall asleep, but then Ellie wakes up Joel by screaming his name. And when he gets up, he looks at her and she is at gunpoint, a man. And then he turns to his right and he also has a gun in his face, and it's a little boy. And the little boy, like, you know, gestures to Joel, like, you know, be quiet, shh, with the gun in his face, and then the episode turns off. I think it's safe to assume that this is Sam and Henry, and we're gonna get to know about them more in the next episode. Overall, it was an okay episode. I thought it was better paced than episode 3. And, you know, it got a little bit of action, so I've been asking for it, just not enough. I need some more. Episode 5 actually looks like to be even more action, so maybe we'll get a whole bunch more there, but I needed to pick up, like, quick. And stop cutting off, you know, kill scenes. Like, we want to see that stuff too. Let me know down in the comment section what your thoughts is on the episode. Rate the video, of course, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll catch y'all in my next review. Peace.